How to Love a Reflector Part 2. Romantically, but also just like in general. Now, in Part 1, I talked about the lunar authority and the strategy of waiting 28 days before making a big decision. And that's rule number 1. If you're dating a reflector, or you are a reflector, like, you fucking gotta get really patient. You gotta be like the most patient fucking person. Because while it's important for you to make decisions that are right for yourself by witnessing the moon, what's actually more important is witnessing the way other people make their decisions. Specifically, if people make decisions based off of their strategy and authority, because a lot of people don't do that. They say they do that, but they don't do that. That 28-day period is for the reflector to observe whether or not the person they're with romantically is making decisions using their strategy and authority. In order to do this, the reflector has to get a lot of alone time. And a lot, like, they gotta sleep in their bed every night. That's something that I do. They gotta spend like bare minimum, bare minimum, bare minimum, at least like 20 to 30 minutes every day outside in the sunlight, ideally surrounded by nature. Probably one of the quickest roads to the not self for the reflector, because there's all this undefined center action going on here, is going to be thinking about other people's problems and not knowing what timeline we're supposed to be on, like not knowing what to do with our stress, or not knowing what to do, like to hurry, or do I need to not hurry? Do I need to slow down? Am I hurrying just to like get the pressure off of me? That's probably the main things that I personally as a reflector experience. So if you are the partner of a reflector, remind them that not everything they think about is their problem to solve. That not all the stress they feel is there for them to take action on. That's one of the biggest helps as a reflector with my projector partner, who's constantly guiding me and reminding me, hey, look, you don't have to solve everybody else's problems. You don't have to do fucking everything. Have you meditated today? Oh, no, I haven't. Well, hey, go meditate. I don't need anything from you. This is a long way of saying the best thing you can do for your reflector partner is to take really good care of yourself and to follow your own strategy and authority. Also, be aware of what undefined centers you have in your chart and what impact that has on you. And I'll lay it out for you right here. Not self, for those that don't know, is what happens when you take an undefined center and you try and fixate it, okay? It's also what happens when you don't follow your strategy and authority. I already mentioned 2 of them. Not self of the head is thinking about other people's problems. Not self of the root is just rushing through shit to get the pressure off your back, or not knowing when you need to hurry up. Not self of the sacral is not knowing when enough is enough. Not self of the heart is trying to prove yourself. Not self of the ajna is trying to convince people that you're certain. Not self of the solar plexus is avoiding truth and confrontation. Not self of the spleen is not knowing what's good for you or holding on to things that are not good for you. And the not self of the G is constantly trying to find love and direction in the world outside. Also, not self of the throat is just doing shit for attention. See, the reflector excels. They excel at amplifying dysfunctions and feeling the dysfunctions in the environment. Now, not every reflector is aware that they do this, okay? And of course, not every human being is aware that some of their friends are reflectors, or that they might potentially be dating a reflector. But if you are dating a reflector, understand that you're dating the 1%. And romantically, it's going to be a fucking trip. It might feel like you're dating a different person every day. And for my reflectors out there, it might feel like you are a different person every single day. However, if you zoom out far enough, and by zoom out far enough, I mean look at a 28-day cycle rather than a day-to-day thing, because reflectors are lunar beings as opposed to solar beings, which is just day, night, day, night, day, night. The moon has to do one of these whole transits in order to complete one of its cycles, whereas the sun just goes up and down. So you're not really a different person every day. You're actually the same person every lunar cycle, because this moon, the way that it changes my body graph in here, you'll see in a second, you see that? The way that it changes that, it does that the same way. It changes me in the same way every single lunar cycle. So another tip as a lover of a reflector is you can help them track their lunar cycle. You can look at whatever sign they have in the moon. For me, that's going to be 48. 48 is right here. So when that moon gets to 48, that's the start of my lunar cycle. Also, if something enters into my field on, let's say the moon is in gate 47, The next time the moon goes around and is in gate 47, that would be a good time, enough time really, for me to make a decision. Maybe it's a job, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a decision to move. And again, so much of this lunar cycle for the reflector to make a decision for themselves is just watching to see what decision everybody else makes. And it doesn't mean that we're slaves to what decisions other people makes, so much as that we are mirrors for our environment. And although we can impact the environment greatly with our reflections, we cannot control our environment. The people that are in the environment control themselves. That determines the environment that we end up in. So if you're dating a reflector, buckle up. You're about to develop the most insane level of patience, or you're going to be worried and spending a lot of time asking questions that literally do not matter. One more thing before I go, it's really important for reflectors to not only get alone time, but also have a diversity of experiences and relationships that they're able to sample from. And one more thing, don't let the reflector fucking bypass. If they're not spending time alone, if they're not taking care of themselves, and they say shit like, well, I'm only giving you this energy because you're giving me this energy, right? Like, don't fall for that, okay? And I know, because I've done that before. But, like, lovingly call that shit out. Lovingly call that shit out. A lot of the times reflectors end up being this kind of like pocket mirror for people, that they get to look at their reflector and who reflects back all the good things, but when bad things are being reflected at, they put the reflector back in their pocket. Don't be that person. Especially if you're supposedly the lover of this reflector, don't be that person. Respect the reflector, but make sure that the reflector is respecting themselves. So that was a lot. If you have any questions specifically, let me know in the comments. Please send this to any reflector inside relationship combinations. Also, if you want relationship reflections, I do that, like live, one-on-one, or one-on-two. If you want to get more in depth with your own human design, personal readings are available too. And if you just want to buy a report for 20 bucks and just read it at your own whim, there's a ton of information in the reports that I make. Don't forget to save this for later, share this with some people, like it, and if you're not already following, go ahead and thumb punch my face. Peace.